Imagine waking up to find your paycheck slashed, your mail service privatized, and your government job suddenly on the chopping block. Sounds dramatic? Welcome to the new era of American policy, where decisions ripple far beyond pay stubs and post offices, reshaping economies and societies at home and abroad. But what if these headline-grabbing moves aren't just about efficiency or saving taxpayer money? What if there's a deeper game at play, one that impacts millions of lives, from federal workers in Ohio to families in Central America? Let's start with a number: $17.75. That was the minimum hourly wage paid to workers on federal contracts, a figure set to ensure that those cleaning government buildings or serving food in federal cafeterias could earn a living wage. Under President Obama, it was $13.30, then raised to $17.75. For years, this wage stood as a small buffer against the harsh reality of America's low federal minimum wage, still stuck at $7.25 an hour. But in the latest twist, the Trump administration has rolled back this requirement. No longer are federal contractors bound to pay $17.75. Now, wages can fall back to previous levels, or even lower. For hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of workers, that's not just a pay cut. It's a gut punch. It's one thing to let inflation nibble away at your paycheck. It's another to have your wages slashed overnight by government decree. Lowering the federal contract wage doesn't just hurt workers, it drags down entire communities, reduces consumer spending, and sets a precedent that wages are always negotiable, but never in your favor. And if you think this is just about numbers on a paycheck, think again. The consequences stretch across borders and generations. Consider the billions of dollars sent home each year by immigrants working in the United States. Remittances that keep families afloat in Mexico, Honduras, El Salvador, and beyond. In 2024 alone, Mexico received $64.7 billion in remittances, accounting for 4% of its GDP. For Nicaragua, it's a staggering 27%. These dollars are lifelines, not just for families, but for entire national economies. Now imagine what happens when immigration is blocked and mass deportations ramp up. Those remittances vanish. Suddenly, millions are forced back into economies with no jobs waiting and no money flowing in from abroad. The result? Economic contraction, social instability, and the creation of conditions so dire that migration becomes a matter of survival, not choice. By slamming the door on immigrants and their earnings, the U.S. isn't just hurting families abroad, it's destabilizing entire regions. And history shows that instability abroad doesn't stay abroad for long. It comes back in the form of humanitarian crises, border surges, and political blowback. The question is, are these policies really making America safer or just sowing the seeds of future chaos? But the shakeup doesn't stop there. The drive to privatize public services and slash federal jobs is being sold as a cure for government inefficiency. But is that the real story? Take Amtrak and the U.S. Postal Service. Critics like Elon Musk argue these public entities lose money and should be privatized. The logic? Private companies are more efficient, so let's run our trains and mail like a business. But here's the catch. Amtrak and the Postal Service aren't supposed to turn a profit, they're public goods. By keeping prices low, the government is effectively subsidizing private business, making it cheaper for companies to ship goods and for families to stay connected. Privatization might boost profits for a few, but for the rest of us, expect higher prices, fewer services, and a new profit motive where public service used to be. Meanwhile, Trump and Musk's crusade to cut federal jobs is being framed as a move toward leaner, meaner government. But the numbers tell a different story. The federal civilian workforce has hovered around 2.5 million for 6 decades, even as the U.S. population has grown by 140 million. That's not bloat, that's efficiency. Slashing federal jobs doesn't make government more efficient. It just piles more work on fewer people, breeds insecurity, and ultimately erodes the quality of public services. And when those laid-off workers flood into state, local, and private sector job markets, wages drop, and working conditions worsen for everyone. It's a race to the bottom that hurts the entire working class. So, what's really at stake in these headline policies? It's not just about budgets or bureaucrats, it's about who gets to live with dignity, who bears the cost of efficiency, and who profits from public pain. We're told to blame outsiders, immigrants, foreign governments, even our own public servants, for problems rooted in deeper economic divides. But scapegoating doesn't solve anything. It distracts from the real issues. A system that rewards a tiny employer class while squeezing everyone else. As the world watches America's every move, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with alarm, the question isn't just what kind of country we are, but what kind of society we want to be. Are we willing to trade public good for private gain? Will we let fear and finger-pointing shape our future? Or can we demand policies that lift everyone, not just a privileged few? The answers will define not just the next news cycle, but the next chapter of American life. And that's a story worth telling and retelling until we get it right.